Okay, so continuing with accounts payable, we're going to show you how to do an inquiry. Just like in the customer file, there is a vendor inquiry screen. This vendor inquiry screen lets you see everything you did with a particular vendor. So if I come over here to vendor inquiry history and I look up a vendor, let's say Dinesh, it shows me every transaction I've done. It also shows me how much I've spent with him since he became a vendor. It tells me any open orders that I have with him that I'm still going to have to pay him ultimately, and what my open invoices are. It also does my accounts payable aging right here. At any time, again, I can drill in and see what that transaction is and how I cleared it off the books or posted it. One of the nice things about this is that we have the ability to hit print, and I'm going to just print this to the screen. This gives me a history for the vendor and tells me the exact transactions, which I think is pretty nice. And that can be mailed direct or emailed directly to the customer, to the vendor. Any questions about vendor inquiry? Okay, so with that being said, we're going to go ahead right into accounts payable. I'm going to go ahead and leave that down here. In accounts payable, we have invoice processing. Well, with invoice processing, this is the invoice that you owe. So the first thing we're going to do is we have a UPS invoice here, and we're going to locate the vendor UPS. Well, we don't have them here, so we're going to create it. And by simply hitting the blue hyperlink here, I can, and this being blank, this must be blank, the system will automatically put me into vendor entry. So I'm going to hit my plus sign, and I'm going to put UPS, and I like to put a dash because I like to have my account number there. And the reason is ultimately you may have a UPS freight account as well as a UPS, who knows how many different accounts. So I'm just going to put the shipper number here, which is 391F08. It also ensures that when we go to pay the bill, we're paying the right vendor. The POBOX 894820, and that's in 90189-4820 zip code, which is Los Angeles. California. Down here in reference is where we would put our account number again, just to make sure that it's correct. 391F08. We don't have anything else. I'm not going to fill that all in. This is going to freight out. So I'm going to look for a freight account, and let's scroll through here until we find it. Right here, it's just one account. So freight, it's not a 1099 account, it's not being allocated, it's just what it is. So we're going to go back over here and add our remit to address, again typing it the same way, PO Box 894820, Los Angeles, California, 90189-4820. Save it, close it, and now when I go to scroll it in, it's right there. There's no confusion that that's the EPS account I want. Okay? Then I put the invoice number in, and because their invoice numbers are so huge, you can only put like the last 6 digits in or so, because I mean they're just huge. And in this case, the first 6 digits, if you notice the invoice number, this is your shipper number right here. So the actual invoice number is 248. So I'm just going to put 248. Okay? Then I put the date of the invoice, which is 061, that's the terms, sorry. The terms of this invoice are, I believe they're 10 days. I think you have to pay within 10 days. Am I right?
I believe it's,
I don't see the terms.
this is due like July something.
July 9th. Payment not received by July 9th. Oh, this was a June 14th. So that's about a 30 days.
Yeah.
So that is 30 days. So we'll put 30 days here. And 061408. And because they're saying that it has to be received by July 9th, received, we want to force a due date in here. So we want to allow, because it's going to California, we want to allow at least 5 days. So we want to say it's due by July 1st, because there's a July 4th holiday in there. So 070108, and there is no discount on this. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So down here we're going to put the total amount of the invoice, $357.94. What's our posting date? Our posting date is going to be, as long as it's in the same month, it's okay. So it's going to be posted on June 24th, which is today. It's not a 1099. There's no purchase order associated with it. It's not a taxable, and this is a freight out. I don't know what it's going to do, but we're going to figure it out. You can fill in this comment area, if you wanted to put what customers were. I don't think it's worth it. Come down here.
The service week is what
Well, I always do that right over here
no, okay.
in the comment on the details. So I come over here and I do F3. It automatically brings up my freight, tells me the amount, and I come over here and I tell it the service week, SW, and the service week is,
You just passed over.
service week is,
Should be the 8th through the 14th.
I wonder why they don't put that on here. Do you see it anywhere? So it's going to be 06/08-14/08. Of course, the numlux isn't on. Oh no, it did do it. That's okay. We got it in there. And this is done. So the next thing we're going to do is we're going to set up American Express. What credit card did you use yesterday?
American Express.
Okay. Do you have
Personal.
do you have the American Express with you?
Yeah.
Okay. Can you bring that out? So we're going to say save this, save and clear. Shipment number not found. There is no shipment number.
That's because you checked the freight out, probably.
Ah, that's why. So I don't know what it did, so let's see what it did. Clear, invalid, general ledger.
And the details, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, so at this point it's now all filled in. This is my amount, but we're finding out that the amount is wrong. So we're going to go back up here and put the right amount in. So the right amount is
Calculator. Thank you, nurse.
just write it on there. We're going to go forward.
Yes.
This is a more system. Okay. So
327.
with that being said, this invoice is completed. We're going to hit save and clear. That saves our invoice. The next one we're going to set up is going to be okay. So the next one we're going to set up is going to be a new vendor, and that's going to be American Express. pull your American Express card out and use the last 4 digits.
Good.
So we're going to go out here again, create a new account, plus sign, and I don't have all the information for this one, so we'll have to come back and put it in. This is going to be Amex, and again dash and the last 4 digits of the credit card number.
1006.
No, you have to do all 5 digits on American Express,
Okay.
because it repeats. 71006. In this case, we're not going to fill in a default expense account because this actually gets distributed. Okay? We're also going to create a miscellaneous account, because what really happened is we went next door and bought lunch. Well, we don't want to set the restaurant up next door as lunch, but we want it to show up on our American Express. So the best way to manage that is to go out here and hit clear, save, create a new account, miscellaneous vendor is what it's called. And again, there's not going to be any default expense account because that's going to be distributed at the time. So when I close this, I'm going to bring in the miscellaneous vendor, and I'm going to just put yesterday's date in, 062308, and this was my first charge for that day, A. At this point, I'm going to come over here. There's really no invoice number. The terms are 0 because it's due right away, due on receipt. And then down here, I'm going to put what we spent. So let's say I spent $35.45, 35.45, but I didn't actually pay for it. Okay? American Express did. So I don't owe the money to this restaurant. I owe the money to American Express. So I'm going to assign this invoice to American Express. So when I get my statement, I'm going to see all these charges that I'm going to be able to check off. Do you see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Okay, so I'm going to come over here and I'm going to tell it that this is being assigned to this Amex card. And I'm going to come down here, F3, fill in that this was meals and entertainment. Let's see, let's try a 7. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
So if you go to Home Depot or anywhere, that's how you're going to handle this. Travel and entertainment, their meal. Okay? And I might want to put a note out here, lunch with consultant. So I remember. Does that make sense to you?
Yes.
It's a little extra work than what you're used to doing. But believe me, it really helps when we come to reconcile it at the end.
But I'm not going to, this isn't a company card.
Doesn't matter,
I'm
you
gonna
paid
do
for it.
that way.
You still have to be paid for it.
Well, I will be. I can do an expense report and just pay myself.
You could do that also in the same way. Then you would do the same thing here. Instead of it assigning to Amex, you would assign it to you. So we're going to delete this and we're going to add in here a new vendor. Jeff. Express reimbursement. Okay? And assign. So at the end of the month, you're going to be able to print a statement of this and cut yourself a check.
Right. Okay.
Okay?
Yeah.
So like all the receipts that you're bringing back from Dallas, do the same thing. Put them in here.
Whack it.
Okay? Does that make sense how that works? Are you liking it?
Yeah.
Okay. So is there any question on how to enter invoice in accounts payable?
No?
Okay? So with that, I'm going to save it. And I'm going to go ahead and update it. The reason this is showing this way is because I'm on my demo system and I disable features on my demo because I've had people steal my laptop because of the software that's on it. They don't realize that the software is not really on my laptop, it's on my portable drive. So it is posting correctly, just so you know.
Okay.
Exit, and yes. So now, when I go and I look at the inquiry for that vendor, for Jeff, I see that I owe him $34 and it got transferred from the vendor 1006, which was the miscellaneous vendor. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So and then in the end, I can cut myself a check for $34.65. Okay? Any questions on that?
No.
Okay, repetitive invoice entry, like I said, I don't recommend that you do repetitive invoices. Repetitive invoice means that it's an invoice that repeats itself. It's exactly the same amount, due on exactly the same day of every month. In order to run that, you can set it up. Let's set up rent, for instance, just so you can see how to do it. You go in here, and we're going to create a vendor for rent. Who's our rent? Who do we pay rent to?
Dinesh.
Oh. Well, then we don't need to set up a vendor.
Okay.
We're going to go over here to Dinesh. And it's going to be, I'm going to put R for rent for 0608. Okay, that's not an R, is it? That's a 4. R. How's that? And hit enter. And this is 0 terms because it's due right on the time. The starting invoice date is going to be, when is your rent due?
July 25th.
So it's due, starting invoice is 072508. Stopping invoice is whenever you're going to end up.
Month to month, yeah.
Right. Well, no, a purpose for a recurring invoice is that you've got a lease.
Yeah.
So let's say, do you have a lease?
Yeah, month to month. Lease.
Okay, so I'm gonna put it out for a year.
Okay.
Okay? So 072509. Okay? Number of payments are 12. Paid every day on the 25th. Paid monthly. And the invoice amount is
1,800.
1,800.
Making numbers up.
It's okay. It's all right. I don't want to know what you pay. That's not
Well,
none
no,
of my business.
Paperwork's at home.
Okay, so if I do F3 here, we're going to distribute this to rent. Okay? And that's how it's going to... So when I clear this and save it, now every month I run this. Because otherwise it's not going to create the recurring invoice. So every month I have to go in here and say, yes, I want to create it. For invoice date, select it through, I'm going to do through 0730, just so it'll do everything that I need. And let's see what it does. Well, it didn't do it, whatever it was supposed to do. Let's see what it's...
Maybe that's part of the feature that's turned on.
It could be. But like I said, I don't ever recommend that, doing it, because it's going to automatically put it in. And it's just better to have an invoice in front of you and post it at the time that you get the invoice. Okay? So any questions on invoice processing? With that, I'm going to stop the recording.